That means as fuck.
Oh, right. Right. That's what the kids say. And look at that. We're live on Facebook with that.
Hey.
Car Con Carne is in quarantine. Quarantine Con Carne. This is so serious. I had to have the logo changed. If you look at Car Con Carne on the website or any of the socials, you'll notice that Car Con Carne is now wearing a protective mask, as all podcasts should during the era of COVID-19. Car Con Carne is sponsored by C&H Financial Services. At some point, we're all going to emerge from our cocoons, chrysalis-like, and we're going to be ready to take on the world again. If you are a small business owner, you will want C&H Financial Services at your side. Keep this website handy, freeprocessingnow.com, so that when you spring back into action, you don't have to worry about fees on credit or debit cards. That's C&H Financial Services. Me, I'm James Van Ostel. I'm in my home. I'm sheltering here. I'm safe at home, and I feel even safer because today I'm joined by Mike, the Director of Education, and Joel, the Director of Public Policy of Hope for the Day. Hi, guys.
Hey, what's up?
And I should say, as we're doing this, we are also live on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook Live and have questions or comments as we go, please feel free to chime in. That's the whole reason we're doing this. So 3 weeks ago, I had Mike on the show. It was 3 weeks to the day. And we talked about mental health in the time of COVID-19. And I guess I should take one step back. Real quick, explain what Hope for the Day is.
Well, Hope for the Day, we are a nonprofit mission, and we are empowering the conversation on proactive suicide prevention and mental health education. The whole goal is to meet people where they are at, not where we expect them to be, and give them approachable and conversational language to normalize the conversation in their sphere of influence, whatever that may be.
So 3 weeks ago may as well have been like 6 years ago. It seems like forever ago when we first talked about this. This was at Mike, when you and I talked, people were just starting to wrap their heads around staying at home for a little bit, work from home, stay in place. But people were still going out there, moving around. Life still seemed kind of normal, although threatening and scary. Things are so different now. Obviously, things are so different. What have you seen and experienced at the organization from people? What are you feeling? Are you feeling, is there a greater volume of people reaching out to Hope for the Day?
I would say that there's a great number of people hitting us up about tips and tricks, and we've responded in kind by quickly changing all the stuff that we were planning to do in the community, business as usual, and bringing it to digital communities. And so we've been engaging a lot of people on Instagram live platforms for both Hope for the Day and Sip of Hope Coffee Bar, since that's been closed with the shelter in place order. And also we've been doing a good amount of digital education. Our workshop called Things We Don't Say is 1 hour, and it's being offered every Tuesday and every Saturday. On Tuesdays, it's 11 a.m., Saturdays, 2:30 p.m., and just gives people an opportunity to connect and synthesize that community, that belonging that many of us really need to combat those feelings of isolation as we get into, well, this is my 4th week of isolation personally. I've been in self-quarantine since the 12th of March. So
I do want to thank Ken, Molly Jean, Mike, Amy, another Mike, Aaron, Rick, Jacob, Tom, and Stephanie for joining us today. Thank you for watching on Facebook Live. If you have comments or questions, throw them our way. The CDC talked about stress factors, things that come up during an infectious disease outbreak, things like fear and worry about your own health and the health of your loved ones, changes in sleep or eating patterns, difficulty sleeping or concentrating, worsening of chronic health problems, worsening of mental health problems, health conditions, increased use of alcohol, tobacco, or other drugs. One thing it doesn't mention is something that I find to be a pervasive concern right now is fear and worry about economic health, personal economic health.
Yeah, everybody's livelihood.
Are there are there things we can do, like simple lifestyle adjustments we can make at home to make this more manageable or make it seem less insurmountable?
I think personally, I think Joel will have some to add to this as well. But I think personally for me, it's been making a very conscious effort to support one of my friends' businesses that I know is struggling during these times, this economic downturn in the service industry, and just making sure that, hey, I'm feeling like treating myself for dinner. It'll help me with my emotional health because I'm feeling like that's me grabbing a little bit of normalcy from whatever previous life we've all like kind of been grieving, right? That helps me. It helps my friends' business, and in the process, I'll like take a photo, post it on social media, and remind people, hey, support your friends' businesses. I think that that's a small lifestyle adjustment everybody can do as far as supporting Chicago and all of the amazing restaurants and talented people from the culinary and hospitality world that are being impacted. There's all sorts of artists streaming, local artists that are really hurting because they don't have their gigs that they rely on for their paying their bills. So those virtual tip jars, even if it's just a couple bucks, 1,000 people showing a little kindness through that medium can mean a great deal to a human being and their livelihood, especially if they got a family and stuff like that. But it's,
I think we're at a point where we've gone beyond just the service industry. I think we're at that next wave of businesses hitting furloughs, layoffs. We're about to see another tsunami of joblessness coming our way.
And Joel, did you want to add to the
just chime in? I mean, I'm in a little bit different of a situation. You know, wife, 3 kids. My wife is now working from home. Pay cut was pretty severe. But my family business, since I got out of college, has been we run a family compounding pharmacy in the suburbs. So I've been going to work, but I've also been surrounding myself with 3 kids who haven't left the house since March 14th.
Right.
And the fact that I leave the house Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, I stay home on days like today, which is why I'm rocking the Dago. But
looking good.
Yeah, I'm trying to be as comfy as possible. It was nice today, and then it got really, really creepy. So it's cold again. I should be. But the one thing that I will speak to is that it's probably more of my wife's doing than mine, is just trying to act like there is something to wake up for. And as bleak as that sounds, it's showering. We do these basement workouts with this lady on the internet, Sydney Cummings, and we just do like a half-hour, 45-minute workout in the morning. Still showering every day, but hitting certain times. It doesn't matter that it's 11 o'clock on a Tuesday and it feels like a Friday because you haven't done anything. It's hitting those points: shower, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and trying to act as if. And that's something that, for me, being that I work in what's considered an essential business, my business has been, ripped to shreds because people will forego their own health, their own specific health needs to eat, which I would expect. So what I'm attempting to do through my going to work 4 days a week, 5 days a week virtually, is just act like we've been through this before. And as much as that's, complete BS, because nobody's ever experienced any of this stuff, it is somewhat refreshing to realize that those people who were poo-pooing the idea of talking about mental health before all this started, and the idea of, you're not traumatized, you just got to get over it. Everybody is going through something right now, which doesn't mean that it's a blessing, but it also means that we've kind of leveled the playing field in a weird manner of sorts. And that when I'm at the pharmacy, like a lady came in, I want to say last Thursday, and she was dressed to the nines, as my dad likes to say. I mean, she had on earrings, her nails were done. You could tell that she dressed up. I'm like, whoa, where are you going? She's like, I came to the pharmacy to pick up my prescription. And you could tell that she just wanted to talk to somebody. And granted, I'm 10 feet away from her, but sometimes I like to think that, yeah, sure, we're a pharmacy and we're providing medications that improve people's lives and their health. But for that one woman, that was the first thing she had done in 3 weeks, was just to come see me and spend. She already prepaid. I mean, we're not touching cash. There's all things that have changed.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because I work with my family. So my sister's a couple of years older, but my parents are in their 70s. And to see them slowly grasp the fact that there are preconceived notions about how strange and powerful and unknown this virus is, it's kind of interesting, because the whole idea of old dog, new tricks is not lost upon me. They are just as shocked with this, and they can't offer any advice. So we've kind of leveled the playing field, but I think by acting as if a little bit, within reason, giving yourself enough grace to emote and be frustrated, but also the idea that nobody has any idea what the hell's going on. There is some semblance of comfort in the fact that nobody can tell you how you're supposed to feel, because nobody has any idea.
I think one of the hardest things for me and maybe other people to come to terms with is the fact that this is indefinite. We don't know how this story ends, and that can feel debilitating. Like, okay, this sucks. The financial situation, everything else, the scariness, that's all terrible. But oh my God, what if this goes on 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? That's the hardest part. And I found myself falling in that trap. I had a night off a couple nights ago, and I started going down the road. I'm like, I can't do that. That's not helpful.
Right?
You almost need to chunk up the way you get through your days, or I do. Chunk things up, like have goalposts along the way, which speaks to routine. Like, well, I know at this time I'm going to do this. Maybe it's working out in the basement, or this is my time to shower. I think that's the only way to do it. Is just look more short term to manage things as opposed to long term. Whenever this ends.
No,
is that fair?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Chunking that up.
Chunking up.
Chunking's a good way to put it too, because
we're all chunking it up in the pandemic.
You're kind of throwing your weight around. I mean, like half of the reason why I'm frustrated right now, and I'm not saying that I have a very, very long fuse when we're not in the pandemic, but half of the reason why I'm frustrated right now is that when people look at me and are either shocked at my reaction or my complacency, whatever it might be, depending on the time of day and the actual day, it's did you have an expectation about how I'm supposed to respond to a global pandemic that I've never experienced? Because I sure as hell didn't. So it's cool because you don't know how you're supposed to react either. So what's cool about all of this, again, with the idea that people are now recognizing that everyone's kind of going through some shit, depending on whereabouts they are in life, everybody is feeling it. And because of the fact that everyone's feeling it, like I'm apologizing more, and I'm also saying this is why I'm angry or this is why I'm frustrated. And it's actually like I've had a couple of really good conversations with friends of mine. I'm going, I'm sorry, I don't mean to yell at you, and they're like, no, I get it. I feel the same way. And then they share what they blew up about. It's like, maybe this is how we figure out how to not put people in these columns and these categories and assume that that's where they're supposed to be. Like Mike said, you meet them where they are. And right now, nobody knows where they are, which is, in a strange, super shitty way, kind of fortunate and comfortable, because now we all know that the playing field has somewhat been leveled in a weird way.
I kind of joked about we're all chunking up, we're all putting on the quarantine 15 while we're sheltering at home. And I realize you're not medical professionals, but how important for mental health is diet, like a responsible diet? Eliminating sugar, stuff like that. Is that?
I'd like to. I'd like to talk.
I retract the question. Forget it.
Well, as a guy who not only has been working in a pharmacy basically his entire life, and someone who has had the ups and downs of food and alcohol and laziness, whatever, I will tell you that my biggest, and this is just me personally, my biggest, like the whole idea of hangry, my biggest problem throughout this entire thing is that I just don't eat. Like I'm not hungry unless I'm voraciously hungry. Like I'll go, like today I didn't eat till 2:00. I'm like, what is my problem? Like I'm a fifth meal kind of guy. Like
I'm gonna start texting you, mister.
Yeah, well, it's like I said,
like eat an apple, bro.
Eat. Well, and that's the thing too, is that if I eat just an apple, I get a stomachache because it's just fructose in my stomach.
Okay, well, that was a bad example. Thanks.
But it's weird because my normal routine of wake up, make my wife breakfast, pack my lunch, go to work, eat around 12:30, 12:45, have a snack around 3:00, drive home, either get the kids and go make dinner, or just make dinner because my wife got the kids, and then we eat by 6. Like those days are gone. What's weird about all of that is that for me, it isn't the overabundance of food. I mean, Sundays have been a little snacky, but it's not the overabundance of food. It's the fact that I forget about it because it doesn't seem important, because worry is a lot more filling than a healthy breakfast. And that's my biggest concern, because I realize that I am a complete jerk when I get about 3 cups of coffee and with no food, and it's bad for my whole day.
I can't wait to hug you, bro.
For real.
I'd like to give you a big ass hug.
More than anything.
Well, Joel, you mentioned you have kids. I have kids too. Dealing as both of you do with mental health, suicide ideation and thoughts, are there warning signs we should look for? Like for people watching or listening to the podcast right now who have kids who are stuck at home in this really fucked up, weird situation that they've never experienced, that there's no precedent for, are there things that parents should be paying attention to during this time?
Well, I know that there's not much that's like, oh, we'll look for, changes in behavior. No, I mean, like the behavior is going to be changed. I think the one thing that we've kind of mandated in the house is that the doors are open. With the exception of mine, because I do like to take a rather long bathroom break in the morning. But that's just because that's my routine. That's part of my normalcy. But we don't, like, the doors are open. We are a little bit more lenient with like the outbursts, because I get it. You haven't left the house since the 14th. I don't even know how that feels. But this is kind of the opportunity where I have to go, hey man, I'm sorry that I yelled, but I'm worried about this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then once in a while, casually, they'll express their own frustration or worry. So I don't know it as far as warning signs, because this is completely new to me, but like the idea is that, the doors should stay open, and we should be like, we've had meals every night. So like we're all in front of each other.
Yeah.
And it's keeping the FaceTime, because it's forced now, but the forced FaceTime has actually kind of changed the way that I interact with them, because I know that I can't get out of it. But then when I express to them, hey, this is what you're doing and it's frustrating me, I'm actually now getting sorry, I didn't realize. I mean, that doesn't mean they don't do it 20 minutes later, but like we're actually having it where I'm communicating to them, what you are doing is bothering me. Like, my wife's trying to work all day. Today, that didn't happen with the internet being chopped off by the landscaper. But, that's the other thing too, is that, do you cancel the guy that you had planned to come deliver mulch 4 months ago, 4 weeks ago, 3 months ago, however long, February was ago? Like, do you cancel that just because you're not supposed to, go talk to him or hug him? Like, I really wanted to go out and hug my landscaper because I love the guy.
Yeah.
But instead, he just chopped off my internet. But it's understanding that I don't know how I'm supposed to react, but knowing that when I go over a certain, when I get out of the green into the red, I have to know that, and I have to make amends. But also, not having the door shut is a good way to know, kind of, I'm keeping my finger on the pulse by just keeping the freaking door open.
That makes sense. Mike, do you have anything to add to that?
Kids? I'm not a parent. Like, Joel is the man that's perfectly equipped to answer that question, because typically I would say, you got to be checking in with your people, and when you notice that they're acting out of character, check in with them and let them know that you've noticed it and that it's okay for them to be feeling things. Like, my go-to always is, hey, I noticed you're not yourself. You okay? It's okay not to be okay. Because right in that short amount of words, I've like laid out that, hey, I've noticed something that's different about you. I'm concerned about you. I love you. And I'm not going to give you any shit about what you might be experiencing or feeling right now. I'm not going to try and put any of my stuff on that. I'm just going to try and listen and be there for you and see you and hear you and validate those feelings you're experiencing. Because I think that's the most important part right now. As parents, as spouses and partners, as friends, as roommates, wherever you find yourself in this. And if you end up in the situation that you're kind of isolated because you don't have roommates or a spouse or something like that, make sure you're staying connected to people so that people can check in with you, for no other reason that it might make their day, and in the course also reciprocally make your day. You know what I mean? 5 minutes is all you really need.
That's a great answer. Ryan on the Facebook live chat said, you can't talk about it. I think by it, he means mental health. He says the stigma is too deep. That's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem that I'm sure you're up against every day at Hope for the Day.
Yeah. You have some situations where someone has like an ongoing issue, but what they'll do on the way to potentially having like an open-hearted conversation is that they'll kind of cut themselves off at the knees and make their problems not as big of a deal as somebody else's problems, which is like, so I've had this conversation with a number of people, because I live in Yorkville, Illinois, which is like 40 miles southwest of Chicago, which is either 45 minutes away or 4 hours away, depending on what time you go. But right now it's like an hour because there's no traffic. But because of the fact that I live out here, there's this full-on dedication to the police can do no wrong. And I was the head of public safety. I'm an alderman in Yorkville too. I was the head of public safety for a while. And in the committee, I routinely made the comment that I can have in my heart the ability to both hold horrible cops accountable and celebrate the ones that are doing the right thing. And even though that is a far, far, different topic from the idea of mental health, you can have a shitty day and somebody else could be having a harder day financially or mentally, whatever. It doesn't mean that the two both can't exist simultaneously. So it's the idea that what we do is we stigmatize ourselves from being able to express the things that piss us off because we feel that it's either not important or you don't want to burden someone. Well, the idea of the conversation about mental health doesn't have to be public. So, I mean, if I went on the internet, and I was tempted today, if I went on the internet and, shared my frustration with not having the internet just because my kids are up my butt right now, does that mean that I am poo-pooing someone who's literally having a depressive episode because they've been isolated for 21 days? No, not at all. I'm just getting something off of my chest. It doesn't take away from one conversation the fact that I'm having another, which seeming, white people problems, first world problems, whatever you want to say. It doesn't exclude it from being something that is having an impact on someone. So that's something that I'm learning myself as I'm a 40-year-old, is how do I just vent the things that are bothering me so that they don't continue to eat at me, while also allowing other larger issues to also exist. And I think the conversation about mental health, it all boils down to your audience. You don't have to tell the entire world that you feel X about Y and Z. What you can do is I can call that dude Mike down there with the freaking piece of wood in his mouth and go, dude, I am pissed. My internet went out. And he goes, that sucks. It's off my chest and it's over and done with. And I can keep complaining about it, but now it's done.
Yeah.
But if I also go to Mike and say, dude, I'm really freaking pissed off about this, that, and the other thing, I know that Mike will listen to me. And if it's something that I need problem with or need help with, he'll go, well, do you need me to help with that? Yes. It's the ability to kind of do that. And when we don't have those abilities to communicate with people and those opportunities to communicate with people, we also have to realize that just because you don't have someone to communicate with doesn't mean there aren't people out there, that they are they're the guy on the bench. And if you haven't texted 741 when you're about to fucking scream, I highly encourage it, because even if you're not like fully in a mental health crisis, telling someone why you're pissed off literally lowers the temperature on the inside.
Wait,
of your
741. I don't know what that is.
It's a helpline. And about 7 or 8 weeks ago, I was at a freaking breaking point, just pissed off. And I didn't want to burden anyone with my bullshit. Just text the number, because if they will respond within 2 or 3 minutes. It's an automated national text line.
Yeah,
that's great. All right. So as far as resources go, as far as Hope for the Day goes, someone's having a rough go of things. Someone just wants someone to talk to. What do they do?
Well, I actually kind of have some of the resource cards at the ready too.
Good.
I don't know if you want me to send those to you, or I could even screen share them. But essentially, there are a whole plethora of hotlines that are available 24/7 nationwide in America that we're real fortunate for. Some of them are specialized. There's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline and the Crisis Text Line that Joel just alluded to. But there's also specialized ones like the Veterans Crisis Line, as well as the Trans Lifeline, et cetera. What makes it nice and easy is if you just go to the Hope for the Day website, hftd.org. There is also a great tool called the Hope for the Day Resource Compass. We've accessed the social care network of Aunt Bertha in a partnership to create this Hope for the Day Resource Compass, where there's a search tool. You can put your zip code in to find out some free and reduced and sliding scale opportunities for all sorts of social services, not just mental health. So that's a really cool tool I'd like everybody to check out. hftd.org should get you there. And if you wanted to go directly to the Find Help page, it's just hftd.org/find-help. But I would also highly encourage, if you feel like you would like to talk to somebody to a professional level of care, even if you don't have a diagnosis, even if you don't feel like you're in a crisis, just because you want to stay well. Just like we go to the dentist to keep our teeth looking good, and we go to the doctor to make sure our blood pressure's in check. If you want to talk to a mental health professional of a professional degree, to that professional level of care, just to stay well, I encourage people to check out different telehealth options so that you can try therapy and try meeting with a couple different therapists if that's what it takes to find somebody that you click with. Because just like any service or relationship, it's got to feel right to you, and you might not get hooked up with somebody right away that you like. So, but there are things like Talkspace, as well as a trove of other things. If you have insurance, good for you. Check out what options you have for telehealth. If you do not, look into some of this app-based technology that can give you that same type of support. And above all else, there's free stuff out there. Organizations like NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness, have peer counselors. You can apply to be linked with a peer counselor where they're not to the level of like a credentialed therapist, but there's somebody that has a pretty significant amount of extra training to support you, and also some lived experience to draw on in being supportive, along with a treasure trove of online support groups too, if that's your bag and you want to experience some connection that way. But I'll be happy to send along a bunch of different tools.
Send along a bunch of those tools, and I'll include them on the podcast post. Guys, Mike and Joel, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I'll probably check back in 3 more weeks if that's okay.
Cool.
Hey,
we're not going anywhere.
Let's keep riding this train and sending out that light to the people, because we need to. It's important right now.
I do want to make a quick thank you to people who joined the podcast recently on Facebook Live. Denise, Chef Ben Randall, Nick Wright, Brian, Jocelyn, Rob, thank you all for joining. Mike and Anthony, I don't know if I got them. Phil, Matt, Jennifer, Mark, Planker, Jessica, a lot of people. Natalie, Kelly, Dave, Ken, a lot of people. So thank you all for watching and listening to what's being said here. This is great stuff. Buy local. Old Irving.
We'll be there.
Cheers to y'all.
Oh, look at that. And one thing I learned from this whole experience, moving forward while I'm doing Quarantine Con Carne until Con Carne comes back, all future guests must be in a tank top because Joel has so beautifully. I think I have ChemLab on the show tomorrow, so I think Jared from ChemLab should be wearing a tank top. Oh, there we go.
Roll them up.
Guns out.
Guns out.